everyone, Pat Subtle with HVT coming to you with a steam engine. Ooh, we got ourselves a steam engine we get to work on. This is the Lionel 671 turbine. It's a 686 steamer. It's a big boy with the 671W tender. This engine was produced during the post-war era after 1945. This was more the line of the 1950s. It is one of my favorite steam engines of the post-war era. I've always liked this one. The 726 Berkshire, one of my all-time favorites of that era, as well as several others, but the 671 and the 726 were very big sellers for Lionel back in the 1950s and also the late 40s. This engine is rugged. I have looked at some of these in years past. I've always liked looking at the 671. 686, it does have magnet traction, which is great. It also has a smoke chamber, which is the old school term for the smoke unit. As you can see, the smoke unit hole is a lot wider because this was the era where Lionel developed smoke pellets. And you would just drop it into the smoke unit and smoke would come out. That's what it was then. It was a tablet about as big as an aspirin. But those have been since discontinued and smoke fluid has taken its place. So what's going on with the engine? Well, I have done some track tests off camera with the locomotive. The unit fires up. It moves to a degree, but very slowly, like it's really, really struggling. The smoke unit works. I have tested that. And the headlight actually works as well, so that's another plus there. The tender's whistle works a little bit. But I do know that the tender has been rewired, as you see here. This has all been redone, which is a good thing. So that's something else to consider too, because if the wiring has been redone as of recent, that's something you don't have to worry about, which is a good thing. So we can oil and lubricate the tender. That's simple to work on. But the engine is going to be the primary focus. And let's turn it upside down to give you a look. We have a pivot screw right here for the truck where it will pivot along the track. One for the front and one for the back. In the middle, we also have two pickup rollers, one on each side, and two screws for the pickup rollers. But for the frame, you have a Phillips head screw here and here. And on the front, you also have a flathead screw to access the inside. On the back side, we have the motor, which is a Pullmore motor, which is one of the old school motors, which I absolutely love. Two solder connections in the back, and the brushes are inside as well. The commutators does need to be cleaned as well. So we're definitely going to be taking a look at this locomotive because this is actually a really rugged steam engine. I really, really like this locomotive, and I would love to get this thing riding the rails once again. I really think this is old grease and old oil, and it's probably been sitting for probably about 15 or 20 years. So I am going to go ahead and look at the book for a minute or two to just kind of look at what we're getting ready to work on, and we'll be able to start disassembling the 671. So anyway, I will be right back after doing a little bit of homework, and we're going to try to revive this baby and get her back on the way. Hey everyone, after doing a little bit of studying on the locomotive to get familiar where everything is, this engine actually runs to an extent, and I'm going to show you all what it's doing when I apply power to it. It looks like it just needed to be moved around a little bit. It sounds like it's gummed up. So I'm going to put power to the track for a second. If you hear that click, that means the E unit is doing its job. So, see, it is moving a little bit. So it is running. It actually sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty good, and the good thing about it is it probably just needed to be run a little bit. But we're still going to tear the engine down and just look and see what the conditions are inside the locomotive. I mean, it is beautiful. I've always liked this engine, like I've said before, but it has probably not been serviced since the day it left the factory. I don't know that, but there's a chance that it might be. So we're going to go ahead and start taking apart the locomotive, and we're going to see what's inside. So this is a good sign here. This is a good sign that it is working some. It just needs some fresh oil and grease and a good clean. So I will shift it back over to the workbench, and I will be right back. All right, everyone, I have the engine upside down on the bench, and like I said previously, I'm glad to see the engine is turning over. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start disassembling the locomotive, where we can be able to get inside and be able to see what the condition is on the inside of the locomotive. You know, check the gears, check the wires, and check the bearings, because you don't know what the condition of these locomotives are in, because they probably have not been serviced since the day they left the factory, which is a little bit, I won't say odd, but it is a little bit curious. You know, it's curious-like. So you want to make sure the engine is fully stable. And see, that screw is out. We'll also shift to the frame here and get these unscrewed. And as mentioned before, make sure you have some real screwdrivers like this, like you would find at your hardware store, with the thick shafts and the thick handle for better performance. And the smaller ones use on more of your delicate projects. And the ones with a magnet are definitely going to be your best friend. Get the one right there in the back. And get it in there. And we'll definitely soak the screws in some degreaser to get them nice and clean. Voila. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. All right. We're inside. We are inside, and you can definitely tell that the wiring on this has not been touched at all. This is factory wiring. And let's see here. Wiring looks okay. This is the smoke unit that you see here. It looks like a big barrel, and that's exactly what it is. The purpose of the smoke unit is to heat the oil of the smoke fluid and turn it into a vapor, which gives it the smoke effect. As you can see, somebody has been here to tape the wires together, which that's not a big deal. That's a good thing. At this point, we can be able to start let's see here. Let's see here. We've got the motor here, so I think what we can be able to do is start disassembling the motor. So anyway, let me do a little bit more reading, and I'll be right back. All right, everyone. After doing a little bit more studying and some cleaning, I have also cleaned the motor coils. They were really, really dirty. So I went ahead and cleaned those before I took the motor apart. As you can see, the motor is mounted vertically instead of horizontally like some other models. You can also detach the motor from the frame right here with these two screws. I don't think we're going to need to do that. Not 100% sure yet. So let me go ahead and shift the camera a little bit. And what we're going to do now is take apart the motor by unscrewing the two screws on the back of the motor. That is going to allow us to get inside the brush plate as well as the brushes and the commutator. That's where a lot of the cleaning is going to be taking place. So I'm going to be doing that off camera. So that's what we're going to do now. Take off the brush plate with these two screws. Being careful not to break apart your solder connections, just to be on the safe side. If something happens, you can always pull the soldering iron out and just touch up your connections. Not a big deal if one of them comes apart. But one thing is for sure, study the diagram, the wiring diagram in the book, and also, if you want to, take a picture of where the wires are, because that actually does help you. So we're going to unscrew the screws, do a quick inspection, and I will be right back. All right, everyone, we have taken the motor out of its mount right here in the chassis, and oh no, I was right about this. No wonder it was sluggish when it was coming around the track. Oh, yeah. Look at all the nasty old grease that's in the drive. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, this thing has not been maintenance for quite a while. And even the end of the worm drive is really gummed up with old grease. So what we're going to have to do is get all this old grease out like we've done before, Q-tips and some degreaser to get it cleaned. And from there, what we'll be able to do is get this all ready and ready to go again. So it's really important when you inherit something, make sure you give it a full service when you get it. Because if the old grease remains in there, it will clog up the drive in a heartbeat, and you definitely do not want that when it's running down the track. These old engines run like tanks, but everything requires maintenance. So please make sure when you do take something like this apart, make sure you service the drive. So anyway, we're going to clean all this out of the old grease. And this is going to be a little bit because there is so much grease in there. Let's take a look at a sample of that grease. It may not seem a lot from the camera. Let me see if I can whip out a sample of this. That's the old grease that is coming out of that drive. You definitely don't want this because you can see how dirty it is. And you can also see it's gritty. If it's grit in the grease from years of being in there, that grease needs to come out because old grease will damage a drive, especially if it's plastic. In metal, it will damage it as well, but I've learned this from experience. So there's another sample. Look how nasty that is. That's gross. That is gross. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean all of this up. And what we'll be able to do is clean all this up and put some fresh grease in it. And hopefully it will run a lot better. So I will be cleaning and lubricating this off camera. Then we'll work our way to the motor. And then hopefully we'll be able to get this back together. So anyway, we're going to take some degreaser and some Q-tips, just like we've done before. Just dig in there and just clean away. That's all we're going to do is we're going to get all the old grease out of it. You can see there's a little bit out of there. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next little bit. So once I get this cleaned and lubricated, we'll move on to the motor. Hey everybody, after about an hour of just cleaning the drive system, not even touching the motor, so much old grease has come out of this locomotive. It has been unreal. As you can see, here is a sample of the old grease that was in the drive. And you can see it still has some liquid to it, which I was very surprised at. But on the worm shaft here, the grease had congealed so bad it was dry in these little grooves of the gear. So I had to take some degreaser and actually take a toothpick and actually clean out all the teeth. Look at all the carbon buildup that has come out of this thing. Even just in the motor compartment, it has all been just covered in grease. Here's a sample of that too. So I've been using a mix of Goo Gone and also some evaporating degreaser and been letting the Goo Gone sit in this area for quite a bit of time now. This is just within the drive. I have not even touched the motor yet. And this is the grease probably that it left the factory with. So surprising that grease has lasted that long. So when you clean the engine compartment, just spray some Goo Gone down and just let it sit for a few minutes to allow the grease to come up to the surface. Don't use a toothbrush, use an actual paper towel to wipe it out. Now for the worm wheel and the worm drive, definitely use a toothbrush in there with some degreaser and get it clean. As you can see, that was the result of that. So that's the evaporating degreaser you see in this cup. That does not attack the plastic. So this is just from the engine. I have not even touched the motor at all. So I don't know what the condition of that is, but the wheels so far turn a lot better since the old grease is out. So I'll probably have to clean the motor compartment and the drive again just to make sure all the grease is out. I don't think I'll have to get the drivers out, but I will also clean this up as well, the rear truck. And the front truck actually looks pretty good, just clean the wheels on it. But we'll be able to get this part clean after we get the motor in all service. So this is just the engine part, and then we will move on to the tender in a little bit later in the video. But it's been a really big project right now. So tomorrow we will be able to service the motor and get it washed up and cleaned up, ready to go, and hopefully be able to get the motor assembly back together after putting in some new grease. So I will finish cleaning this off camera, and tomorrow we will be able to service the motor. And once we get the motor serviced, we'll put the shell back on. They will be able to check the rear truck and the front truck, and hopefully we'll have a good running engine, and then we'll move on to the tender. So anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow, and we'll service the motor. Hi everyone, it's the next day, and worked on this engine pretty late last night. As you can see, the old grease that has come out of this thing is disgusting, and you see it on the Q-tips, but most importantly on this rag, and you can see how much old grease just came out, and it came out in chunks too. Pretty nasty, and you can look at the Q-tips as well. That's some of the old grease that came out of the drive, and it's probably the grease it left the factory with. And also on the inside is where all this grease had built up, and I was cleaning it pretty well with some degreaser to get it all out of there. And I've oiled the worm wheel a little bit, and it rides a lot better than it did. So this little plate right here is the access point between the frame and that worm gear. So you can just push this right out, and it allows you to have access to the worm wheel, which needs to be cleaned. The worm shaft has also been cleaned up as well. You saw it last night. It was really drippy with old grease. Now, the only thing we'll have to do now is apply some new grease. I recommend a number 2 red tacky grease. The red tacky grease is good. There are a lot of brands out there. You choose the one that you think will work best for you. Move the degreaser out of the way. So the only thing we're going to do now is just take a screwdriver, just get some grease. Then the only thing you just do is just spread it on there. And you want to get some on the gear, actually on the worm wheels, what they call it in the book. It is going to be stringy, so you might want to have 2 screwdrivers. And just put it right in there. And it should stick in there. You might have to use your fingers for this part. So that's what the little red grease looks like. You definitely want to put a good amount in there. And also put some right here on the drive. Because as the motor spins, you will be able to get the grease evenly distributed. And it's strong enough to grow legs, and that's what you want. So I've put some grease in there. Now I'm just going to go ahead and finish this up and allow some oil to go in there as well, and just move it around a little bit. So I'll do that off camera, then we'll talk about the motor. All right, we're ready to take the motor apart and see what we have going on in the motor. And I've already got the brush plate loose. And you just rock this back and forth. You might have to use a screwdriver to help pry it up just a little bit. You definitely don't want to put a lot of pressure on this, because if you put pressure on it, you're going to also possibly break the wires. You want to check your wires really quick. Make sure they're okay, and they are. If you get a little bit of grease on the brush plate, that's okay. That'll just come right off a little degreaser. So far, the brushes don't even look that bad. She is on there good. Got it. Oh yeah. Let me just leave it like that where you guys can see what's going on. The commutator is dirty. The brushes are dirty. But you can tell this unit has run quite a bit. So the only thing we're going to do now is just, like we've always done, clean it up. And the brush plate looks a little bit dirty, but for the most part, it doesn't look that bad. So we're going to clean all this up. Remember to get the inside of the commutator gaps with just a toothpick. As mentioned before, that little area, those little areas right there are prone to getting carbon buildup. Okay. Yeah, this has got a lot in it. And even look at the outside of it as well. Got a little bit of carbon buildup as well, but we're going to clean this up. We're going to clean all this up and make it look good again. So it's really important, like I said, clean out the gaps. There you go. And just do the same thing again. Yeah. So now what we just do is take a little bit of degreaser, clean it up, and if you have a clean end of a Q-tip, you can just definitely use the ones you've already used from other projects. Hold the commutator still with your thumb. Lot better so far. Lot better so far. So this engine has definitely seen the rails quite a bit. It's just a little bit dirty is all this is. Yeah. A lot of carbon buildup. A lot of it. So that's after about a couple of minutes worth of just getting it cleaned up. And you will be going through some Q-tips when you do this process. But the degreaser will soften up the carbon buildup. It'll make the gaps very easy to clean. If you do it before you clean the commutator, it will not hurt to do the gaps again, because the toothpick on the first time might just miss a little bit. And this will definitely help make the engine run a lot smoother. All right. Look how clean she is now compared to what it was when we got started. And look at there. It's coming off a little bit, but not very much now, which is a good thing. And for the brushes, just do the tips of the brushes. If they're in there really good with these little springs, I wouldn't worry about taking them out unless you really, really want to. This brush design is similar to the number 50 gang car. It's very, very similar. And if you want to, clean the edges a little bit. It's not going to hurt it. Just touch it up a little bit. It does have a 3-pole motor, and the sides of it look pretty good, which are the poles on it. The coils look pretty good. I've cleaned the coils on the other side as well, but there is a little bit in between where the brush plate is, so I'm going to dig in there and grab that out of there as well. But I'll be doing that off camera. So commutator's looking better. Clean out the brush plate. Clean the coils right there on the inside, and the motor will actually be ready to put back together. So anyway, I'll do some cleaning off camera, and I'll be back in a bit. Hi again, everyone. It's been some time now, and the inside was absolutely disgusting with a lot of grease buildup and a lot of old oil. It was definitely in some really, really rough shape. I have turned the locomotive upside down where I can start cleaning the wheels. The back trucks look pretty good, but there is some grease buildup. Well, actually, not really grease buildup, but it is pretty dirty down there. So you want to just clean up around it with just a small Q-tip. For the front, would definitely do the same thing, because if it's a little bit sticky, it will affect the turning of the locomotive when it goes into curves like 031, 036, and more. So it is pretty nasty. Just kind of pivot these a little bit and see if they slide freely. If not, just take some evaporating degreaser and just clean around it, especially if it's near the pivot. Okay, I've just done a real quick cleaning on. They weren't too bad, but it's good to go ahead and get them. The wheels on this locomotive actually look pretty good. I really don't have to do a lot of sanding on this. You can probably just get by with it with a little bit of degreaser and just wipe them down. The contact is good between the wheels and the track, which is a really good thing. Just clean up the wheels a little bit. See if we can get some of the gunk off. See the gunk right there on that little wheel right there? Gone. The wheels of this thing are in pretty much immaculate shape, despite the fact of how old this engine is. So, clean up the pickup rollers a little bit, and just get any of the loose dirt that could be off, that could be coming off of there. And let the evaporating degreaser sit on there. Then clean all the wheels, including your free rolling wheels, and also your pickup rollers. And the pickup rollers are going to be sanded for better contact. So I will go ahead and clean the other wheels off camera, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, we are back, and everything is rolling nice now. We've got all the freewheeling wheels rolling nice, and even our drive wheels look really, really shiny. They really weren't that dirty at all. It just needed a quick shine up is all it needed. A couple quick tips I'll give. Lubricate the bearings on all of your freewheeling trucks, and also pick out the dirt that's in between the bearing and the truck frame. That all needs to be picked out with a toothpick. Make sure you do that, which I've done, and everything has been oiled. So I will do a quick track test of the engine off camera, and then we will work on the tender, which I'm really excited about. So the tender has a little motor in it that controls the whistle, and there is some wiring involved as well. So we're going to dig into that, and the engine for the most part is ready to go. So I will do a track test off camera, and I'll be right back. Hi everyone, we're back over at the bench, and now we're ready to work on the Lionel 671W tender. This is the tender that goes with the 671. I have already tested the engine, running a lot better, a lot happier. So, as mentioned before, a little bit of maintenance goes a long way. Now this is the tender, and it has 6 screws, but it has 1 in each corner to disconnect the tender shell from the frame, and that's what we're going to unscrew now. And this will expose the underside of the inside of the tender, where the whistle unit is, as well as the other electrical components. So a small flathead screwdriver is needed here. If you have one a little bit smaller, it might help you a little bit more. Okay. And it looks like to me the previous owner redid the wiring on this tender when they previously had it, which is a good thing, because a lot of times when you get these engines and tenders, the wiring is sometimes okay, and there's sometimes where the casing is so dried out, it's brittle. So that's one thing I recommend that you check, are the electrical, all the wire connections on your locomotives and tenders because you don't know what conditions these are in. So it's good to do a maintenance on these things because you learn a lot as you go. But most importantly, you can take something that hasn't been running 20 plus years, I'll run like a champ again. So it does take time, but the good thing is you learn as you go. You just get that last screw. Got it? Got all the screws together. Now I think we can pop the shell right off. Okay. This is a little bit different. But this is cool. All right. We do have a little motor and an E unit in here as well. So this E unit, I believe, controls the whistle unit, and the motor obviously powers the whistle blow. So you can see the wiring has been redone, which is nicely done. Let's see here. Electrical connections look okay. So we'll have to take off the little board here to expose the motor, which will definitely need a service, which is not too bad. And we'll go from there too. And on the other side, you see the little fan motor that actually spins when the whistle blows. That will just take just a little drop of oil to get the squeak out. This one does have a squeak in it. So what you'll need here is, once again, a flathead screwdriver. You can use a small one, which I would recommend because all of this is really delicate. So it's important to group your screws depending on where you are on the locomotive or the tender, because if you can keep them together, it will definitely save you in the long run. Okay. Whoever had this locomotive did a good job with the wiring on it. Okay. Set those over there. And this should slide out. And it does. It does have brushes, and it also has a commutator. That's pretty cool. And it has definitely been run too. It has definitely been run. You can see it's pretty dirty in there. I'll have to go in there and clean that up a little bit. Clean up the coils. Not a big deal because we've done it with the engine. So this is a plus. This is a plus. We can do this. So this takes off the insulated board to expose the commutator and also the brushes. So we're going to go ahead and take care of this and be able to get this running again a little bit better. Plus, I'll oil it, and I'll also we'll also go onto the underside and be able to work on the wheels. The wheels actually look pretty good. They just need a quick oil and a quick clean, and this will be ready to go. So anyway, I will do this off camera, get it all cleaned up, and I'll be right back. Hey everyone, we're down here with the 671W, and this board peels back to expose the commutator and the brushes. I've cleaned the commutator the best I could, and the gaps were really, really full. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the board back on. I'm also going to check the wire connections again, and I'm going to also oil it up and do a test off camera. Then I'll come back and I'll maintenance it. Because basically at this point you have a little motor that controls the whistle, and this little E unit controls the whistle. So it's a matter of just putting it back together and give it a quick oil, and the inside will be good. We'll turn it over and we'll oil the wheels. The wheels actually don't really need to be that cleaned. Just a quick polish up, and this engine will be good to go. So I will put this back together, and I'll be right back. Hey everyone, we're back, and I've got the tender somewhat back together. The whistle doesn't really work properly as of yet. I've got to do some more tuning to it, but I've also been cleaning the wheels on this. Even though the wheels aren't as dirty, I've just been taking a little old toothbrush and just cleaning the wheels like this. It actually got rid of some of the dirt and debris off of one of the wheels that was really dirty. I also resoldered that wire, so that's all good to go. If the wheels aren't too bad, you can just use a little bit of degreaser with a little toothbrush and clean it really good. And just let the degreaser do the work for you. So let that dry on there. Now, oil it. And oiling it is just the same as everything else. Just a drop. Also do the inside of the wheels. Also do the pickup rollers. All right. Let the oil work its way in there for a few minutes. And I will go back and do a final check on this locomotive, and I will get the pre-war car, actually the post-war cars, excuse me, all together on this train, and we're going to let it run around the layout for a little bit. The engine runs really well. The engine runs really, really well. I'll also put some smoke fluid in there as well and see if we can get the smoke unit to work as well. I think it was working earlier. So we will be doing that. I'll get it all set up, and I'll be right back. All right, everyone. After getting the tender back together and also checking over the cars, we're ready to put 671 to work for probably the first time in probably 25 years. So as we have the locomotive on the track, I'm getting ready to put power to it, and the locomotive runs a lot smoother than it did the day it was brought into the shop. Since we have cleaned out everything is working as intended. So I have put some smoke fluid in the smoke unit, and we're ready to give this thing some power. Oh yeah, she's doing it. Yeah. Hi everyone, we've been letting the engine run for about 2 to 3 minutes now, and it's running very, very well for a mid-1940s steam locomotive. This engine had some signs of life, but it just needed a huge overhaul. And I went back and made a few adjustments to it. Glad to see this engine is riding the rails once again after probably about 20 or 25 years in storage. These little post-war Lionels are definitely worth it. They are built like tanks. You cannot destroy these things. So, glad to see this engine's riding the rails once again. And note the post-war cars that you see are part of my personal collection. Just keeping those axles oiled. But keep the engine oiled and greased, and would definitely recommend doing a service about once a year. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I will continue to have some footage of the engine running around the 2338. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. And as with that, I would like to thank you all so much for watching.